Hey everybody, Jason Blaha here with Ice Cream Fitness. Today I want to talk to you guys about the subject of power benching, and I'm going to teach you just the basics of basic power benching. I think this is a very important tool for the novice to learn. It's because it helps you develop a proper strength foundation and power foundation, which will tremendously help you in getting larger. I know that if you're watching my channel, odds are you watch Matt Ogus's channel, because again he has probably one of the most popular, and I personally think one of the better YouTube channels out there. I heard him say the other day, he had mentioned in his own video on power benching that he feels that the novice should be doing it. They should be power benching. That it's one of the keys to developing a big chest, because again he points out that in order to build a big powerful physique and a big powerful chest, you need to learn how to move heavy weights safely and effectively for your chest. And he's a fan of the power bench, and I wholeheartedly agree. I think he's absolutely right there. I pretty much promote the exact same idea. So I'm going to get right into it and cover a little bit about power benching. Now, I mean, all of that being said, I know most of us will agree that the power bench may not offer the most hypertrophy potential for your pecs themselves, but as far as overall upper body hypertrophy potential, it's very high on the list, and it trains neural efficiency and explosiveness, which in general will help you to grow and develop. And for many of the novices, it still stimulates enough chest growth, if done correctly, that they're unlikely to develop a lagging chest, in at least a decently balanced routine where you're benching heavy, overpressing heavy correctly, and things like that. And again, just if you want further details on some of that, here are a couple of my videos about doing pressing for the chest. This is my benching for your chest video, and this is my floor press video. Because I personally do the floor press as my primary chest builder right now. So again, I tend to lean towards that, and I do power benching on my power days. So let me just go ahead and show you immediately one of my warm-ups, my first warm-up set. Okay, you'll notice I set this up exactly like I would a work set, even though this is a really lightweight. You notice I get an arch, I get my heels dug in, you notice my heels are behind my knees, my scapular completely retracted, and I have an arch. I control the eccentric, explode up. Control the eccentric, explode up. I don't really use any leg drive yet on this warm-up set, but again, you'll notice again the basic technique is exactly like on a work set. That was my warm-up, one of my warm-up sets for my power workout yesterday. I ended up doing 5 total work sets on my power bench, and I only show you the first 3 work sets. I left the last 2 out. And and if you're curious, I did another set of 2, and then I did a 5-rep pause bench with a 2 count on the chest on each rep to finish off with a lighter weight. Something you will notice immediately watching that, you'll notice, and I do this in a couple of the videos, and I apologize, it is a form breakdown, and it will absolutely get you red lighted if you decide to do a powerlifting meet. And it's because I haven't been using a leg drive lately on my bench, and yesterday was my first time doing so in several months. On that one, especially on my first negative and when I unracking, you'll notice I do that on a couple of the reps, and at least one of the unracks in the later videos, my ass basically breaks contact with the bench by just a small amount, by a ½ inch or so, and try not to do that. That actually is a technique breakdown, and I wasn't aware I was doing it until after I had already videoed my lifts that day, and so I'll have to live with it, and that's something I personally need to correct. And that also emphasizes how helpful it can be sometimes for any of us, including you, to go ahead and video your lifts sometimes to look for your form errors and things so that you can fix it. Because if you don't know it's broke, you can't fix it. One of the things you'll notice in that video, and then in the next one on my first work set, is that for my power bench, there's a couple of things. One, I get set tight under the bar. You notice I work myself down. I get my heels dug in really hard behind my knees, because again the heel is where your drive starts. When you first drive out of the bottom, when you use leg drive, the power is through the heel on the bench press. So the bench press, a power bench, is a full body movement, just like a squat or a deadlift. It's not purely an upper body movement. There is leg drive involved, heel drive, hip drive. I have a bit of an arch, and my stomach is poked out, my chest is up, and that reduces the range of motion a bit. which again is kind of essential to the power bench, and it's one of the reasons why you lose a little bit of chest involvement. And the other reason being is that because the very bottom, you're actually using a little bit of hip drive, and you're using lats to slingshot the weight from the dead stop right off your chest initially. And by doing that, you do lose a little bit more of the pec recruitment, which is one of the two reasons why sometimes power bench isn't optimal for chest development that you could get with slightly different movements. And it is great for developing power and again, just overall development and training you to actually just get stronger, which again is extremely helpful for hypertrophy purposes. You'll also notice I have my scapula as I pull myself up, or hopefully you can't really see it actually. But I have my scapula fully retracted. My shoulder blades are touching each other and they never come apart from the time I unrack the bar until I finish the last rep on a set. Just like I covered in the bench press video, that my elbows are tucked in very tight at the bottom, well inside. They're probably right about here at the bottom. You can see they're probably no more than 30 degrees from my body. You'll also notice I bench low on my chest. The bar never touches my nipple or above ever on a bench press of any type. And again, it has to do with controlling elbow flare and stress on the rotator cuffs. You're far, far more likely to damage a rotator cuff or tear a pec doing heavy benching if your elbows flare at all. Or if you're benching, again with the bar, hit the nipple line or above. Below the nipple is where you should always be with the bar. So go ahead and watch my first work set. Notice again that my setup is very tight. I get an arch immediately. I get my glutes in hard. I use the bar to pull myself up, to get my scapula completely retracted, and to slide myself down the bench while getting my heels dug in behind my knees, and again creating an arch with my scapula completely retracted and tight and my shoulders down. I unrack it. Slow eccentric, come down, compress it to the lower chest, explode. Notice my elbows are completely tucked at the bottom. Slow concentric, explosive concentric. And notice again I have a minimal bar path. There's very little curve in the bar. Again, you're trying to take the shortest path possible. Okay, as you will see in that one as you watched, same things I said before. As far as setting up in the technique, you'll also notice that when I come down, on this one, I'm using a little leg drive, and I bring the bar down and I touch it to my chest, and then I let it compress into the meat. It's come to a dead stop, so you're not able to use inertia or anything else. You're not bouncing. And then you'll notice just to get it started, I just use a drop of heel drive and through my hips to kick the weight up. And that's to get the initial burst off the chest to get the weight started. And it's also the lats are involved, but you can't see that. You can actually see the leg drive. And so again, that's one of the reasons you'll see a lot of guys who want a big bench will do a lot of extra lat work, because the lats help you slingshot initially out of the bottom, coming right off the chest. And again, that little bit of just right out of the bottom is what gets the bar started, because again, on a power bench, it should be fast and explosive. At no point ever in your movement should the bar slow down. And if it does, then you're using too much weight, or you have a muscle weakness somewhere that is preventing you from benching correctly. A power bench should always be fast. Again, the only time it should ever slow is maybe when you're attempting a max single with your maximum weight or trying to set a new max. It should slow. If it ever slows other than that, you're taking sets to failure. You're doing things that you don't need to be doing to get stronger, because a rep that you have to shift under to cheat the weight up means you're not actually strong enough to lift it. Or if the spotter ever has to touch the bar, you're actually trying to move a weight that you're not strong enough to lift. You're actually failing to lift it, and failing to lift like that doesn't make you stronger. Lifting a heavy weight repeatedly is what will actually make you stronger and faster, not going to having the bar slow to a dead stop and then having to adjust and shift. So if you're having to do that, you're just overestimating either the amount of weight or the reps you can do, and you need to back off and get your ego in check and do it correctly. Otherwise, even though you may think you're training hard by doing that, you're actually just fucking around. So again, I'll show you again one of my heavier work sets. Just like before, my setup is super tight, but in this case I take extra care to get tighter because I'm starting to work with a relatively heavy weight for me. Again, I get it really tight, grip the bar super hard, get my heels set so that I can drive through the heels at the bottom to get it off of my chest. Get in tight, scapular retracted, and grip the bar as tight as I possibly can. Unrack it. Slow controlled eccentric. Compress to the chest, explode. Drive to the heels. Slow eccentric, compress, explode. Okay, as you can see in that one, I'm doing the exact same thing that I'm doing in the other videos. You'll notice that the bar does slow down a little bit. It's because, again, I'm moving a relatively heavy weight for me, and it's still fast and explosive, but obviously I can't accelerate it as quickly as I could, the lighter weight. Also, you will notice, again, as the weight gets heavier, that I start controlling the eccentric a little more on the way down. You'll notice that, again, I have it very, very controlled on the way down because, again, you don't ever want to just bounce a heavy weight off your chest. It leads to bruising, leads to injury, and it ultimately is a sign that if you can't control a weight lowered, you obviously cannot lift it because eccentric strength is stronger than concentric strength. So if you're not capable of controlling a weight on the way down, you're actually not capable of lifting it. So you're probably cheating the weight up in some way. And particularly people who are doing that tend to just bounce the weight off their chest, in which case, you're getting actually less chest involvement and you're not even actually capable of lifting the weight. Again, that's ego lifting, that isn't power lifting. If you're just letting the weight drop because you can't control it completely and then using that bounce to get inertia out of the bottom. So again, you'll notice it's very controlled. And then once I get it sunk into the chest, then I go ahead and I initiate and drive it up. And you should notice, hopefully, that the power starts in my heels. I drive with the heels up through the hips, and I use that just to get the weight started, then drive it and lock. Then I've got one final set for you. You'll note on this one I have the same basic setup as before. Take quite a bit of time getting nice and tight. You'll notice that my first rep on this one is a lot faster than on the previous set because my central nervous system is warmed up and my technique is now warmed up, so I'm a little more explosive than I was previously. Same technique, dug in hard, driving through the heels. Arch is really good, unrack. Slow eccentric, compress to the chest, drive up, and repeat. Okay, that was the final set that I videoed for the day, and again, it's repeating the same technique, and you will notice just that I've done the same things overall. I've set up the same. I've got set in really tight. I've got an arch set up tight. My heels are dug into the floor hard. The heels are behind the knees. You'll notice that I have my scapula completely retracted, shoulder blades down, elbows tucked tight. You'll notice that I have my arms set on all of those, my forearms set to where my forearms, in terms of both my grip width and my placement front to back, that my wrists stay over my elbows, and my forearms are exactly 90 degrees from the floor. And the reason for that being is that it gives you the best leverage advantage to where the primary movers involved are moving the weight, and it's not making your forearms or your grip actually have to work in order to help stabilize the weight. And that way, you're not losing weight or strength through a mechanical disadvantage, and you're able to actually move the weight with the primary movers and not involve things like your forearms for more stability. And I've just demonstrated for you the basic power bench and some of my reasons for why you should learn it. And hopefully you've learned something from it. You've learned a little bit about how to correctly do a power bench, how to set it up, and how to perform the lift safely and effectively. I've just taught you the basic technique. There's nothing fancy about the technique I'm using. You're not going to become the world's greatest powerlifting champion using the exact setup I have, but it is a good starting point for you to learn basic power benching. And a basic power bench like I've demonstrated for you will carry you quite a long way in your lifting. Hope it's been informative and helpful. Let me give you guys another bicep shot. And I'll talk to you next time.